Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking at something that could be a real game changer for families, especially for those of you out there in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena raising teenagers.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're always on the lookout for resources, those that can really make a difference and empower our young people right here in our community.
You hit the nail on the head, and the one we're going to be exploring today is called Tuttle Twins Academy. Now, it's an online platform, and they offer courses specifically designed for teenagers. But here's the thing. It's not your typical school stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely not your run-of-the-mill kind of curriculum. It goes way beyond those standard textbooks. From what I've seen, they cover some familiar topics like civics and finances, but they do it with a twist. A twist that's meant to get teens really thinking.
Okay, so let's break it down. What exactly are they offering? They've got these categories like civics, with courses like Bill of Rights Basics, and even one that caught my eye called the 10 Worst SCOTUS Cases. Now that sounds pretty intriguing, right?
Right. And then you've got the finances category, which, let's face it, is so important for teenagers who are getting ready, to enter adulthood. They have courses on investing, money management, and even one called Adulting 101.
That's the one that really got me thinking. Just imagine the impact this could have on teens right here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena. Imagine them graduating high school with a solid understanding of how to manage their money, how to invest for the future. I mean, that's setting them up for success right from the start.
Absolutely. And it's not just about practical skills either. They also have courses on logic and critical thinking, which in today's world is absolutely essential.
Oh, I agree 100%. I wish I had access to those courses when I was a teen. We're talking about things like detecting deception and 10 steps to develop critical thinking. We're talking about helping them learn how to analyze information, how to make sound decisions. These are skills that will benefit them in every single aspect of their lives.
Exactly. And for those teens out there who are already dreaming big, thinking about their future careers, they have a whole section on entrepreneurship.
That's the one that caught my eye as well. I mean, courses like turn a hobby into a profitable small business. That's going to resonate with so many teens in our area. I can just feel it. They're full of energy. They've got all these ideas, and this could give them the tools to really make something of those ideas.
It is pretty remarkable how they've structured the whole academy. It's very practical. It's focused on skills that teens can actually use in the real world.
Right. And they're not shying away from some of the big ideas either. One of their civics courses is actually called How the System Really Works. Now, that makes you wonder what kind of perspective they're bringing to the table.
It does make you curious. And it seems like they're also committed to character development. They've got upcoming courses on emotional intelligence, leadership, and self-confidence.
So they're really trying to create a well-rounded learning experience. It's not just about academics. It's about helping teens develop into capable, confident individuals, right?
Precisely. And that focus on personal growth alongside practical skills, that's what makes this academy so intriguing. But there is another layer to all of this that we should probably address. They really emphasize something they call values-aligned education.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. What exactly does that mean?
Well, they're very upfront about it. They state that their content is aligned with conservative and libertarian principles. So they're targeting families who are looking for an educational experience that reinforces those values.
Oh, it's not just about teaching skills. It's about teaching them through a specific lens.
Yeah, it seems that way. And while that might be appealing to some families, it does raise questions about how that approach impacts critical thinking. Does it encourage students to, question those values, or does it simply reinforce them?
That's a really good point. It's definitely something to think about and something we need to explore a bit further.
Yeah.
What does this mean for families in our area who might be considering Tuttle Twins Academy?
Yeah, it's something we need to think about for sure. I mean, we always encourage critical thinking here at Think and Act locally, right? We want our listeners to be, informed and engaged citizens.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's crucial for parents to be having those open and honest conversations with their teens about the content they're taking in, especially when it comes to something like Tuttle Twins Academy, where there's this clear values-based approach.
Exactly. It's all about helping teens develop those critical thinking skills so they can look at the information for themselves, and form their own opinions.
Right. And I do think it's great that the Academy is upfront about their values. It lets parents make informed choices about whether it fits with their family's beliefs and their educational goals. For sure. So let's say a family here in Deer Park, LaPorte, or Pasadena, they're intrigued by what they've heard so far. What's the actual learning experience like for a teen enrolled in the Tuttle Twins Academy?
Well, from what I've gathered, they use a lot of animated content for their lectures, which honestly is probably a great way to keep teenagers engaged. They also have quizzes and some extra materials to help reinforce what they're learning.
I love that. Anything that helps make learning stick right. And speaking of making things accessible, I noticed they have a single price for the whole family. That's got to be a big plus, especially for families with multiple teens.
Yeah, it is. It makes quality education more affordable, which is something that's really important to us here at Think and Act Locally. We want to make sure that everyone in our community has access to resources that can help them thrive.
Totally. And it's not just the pricing. They also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, so families can try it out risk-free, see if it's a good fit for their teen.
Oh, that's a good point. It kind of shows that they're confident in the program, right? And it gives families that peace of mind knowing they're not locked into anything.
Speaking of confidence, I'm a little curious about the founder, Connor Boyack. What's his background?
Well, he's the founder and president of the Libertas Institute, which is a free market think tank. He's also written a ton of books, like over 35. Many of them focus on individual liberty and limited government. So his worldview definitely seems to be at the core of Tuttle Twins Academy.
That makes a lot of sense. It's always fascinating to see how a founder's passions shape an organization. It definitely adds another layer to consider when you're evaluating the academy.
I agree. And it's important for families to be aware of that influence and to talk about it with their teens. It all comes back to critical thinking, right? Encouraging our young people to develop their own opinions.
Okay, so we've covered the curriculum, the values, the founder, even the free trial. What else stands out about Tuttle Twins Academy?
Well, one thing that really struck me was the variety of courses they offer. They're covering a pretty wide range of topics, from the fundamentals to some more, complex concepts.
You're right. I was looking at their website earlier, and they have courses on everything from the psychology of persuasion to U.S. and world history to even mindset mastery.
It's quite impressive. And they seem to be adding new courses all the time, which I think shows their dedication to providing a well-rounded and comprehensive education.
I think that's really valuable for teens in our community. We wanted to have these different learning opportunities, things that can help them discover what they're passionate about and develop their skills.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual growth either. It's about empowering our young people to become active and engaged citizens, the kind of people who can contribute to making our community even better.
That's what Think and Act Locally is all about. We truly believe that by empowering individuals, we can create that positive change right here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena.
Absolutely. And Tuttle Twins Academy seems to share that belief in, empowering young people to make a difference. They even have a course called Helping Others Succeed.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like Tuttle Twins Academy has a lot to offer families in our area. But just like any educational resource, it's important to, weigh the pros and cons and decide if it's the right fit.
Right. There's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to education. Parents need to do their research, have those conversations with their teens, and ultimately choose resources that align with their values and goals.
That's where Think and Act Locally steps in. We're here to give you the information and resources to make those choices for your family and our community.
And, if you're finding value in our show and want to support what we do, you can always visit thinkandactlocally.com/donate. The link's in our show notes.
Thanks for the reminder. We really appreciate all of our listeners and your support. It helps us keep bringing you valuable content like this deep dive into Tuttle Twins Academy. Okay, before we wrap things up, I'm curious to hear your final thoughts. What's one key takeaway you want listeners to really ponder?
That's a great question. I think the biggest takeaway, the thing I really want parents to consider, is this whole idea of balance. How do you balance the benefits of values-aligned education with the importance of critical thinking and exposure to, different points of view? It's something we keep circling back to, and it's really at the heart of what makes Tuttle Twins Academy so fascinating.
Yeah, it's that tension we keep coming back to, right? How do you instill values in your kids, but at the same time, encourage them to think for themselves?
Exactly. And it's a conversation worth having. We live in a world where everyone's got an opinion and information is coming at us from all sides. Yeah. It's more important now than ever for our young people to be able to sort through all that and, think critically.
It's not just about what they learn, but how they learn.
Right.
It's about giving them the tools to process information, analyze different perspectives, and form their own opinions.
Precisely. And, Tuttle Twins Academy, with its focus on a particular set of values, I think it offers a really interesting opportunity for families to explore these concepts together. It could be a starting point for some really important conversations about beliefs, values, and how they shape our understanding of the world.
And those conversations are so important, especially in a community as diverse as ours here in Deer Park, LaPorte, and Pasadena. We need to give our teens the skills to engage in, respectful dialogue, even when they're facing viewpoints that are different from their own.
Absolutely. That's what's going to make them better citizens, better community members, and better prepared to deal with, the complexities of the world.
Well said. So to all our listeners out there with teens, if you're looking for a resource that can spark these conversations and encourage that critical thinking, I definitely encourage you to check out Tuttle Twins Academy, explore their website, maybe try that free trial, and most importantly, have those open and honest conversations with your teen about what they're learning.
And if you're looking for even more resources to help you navigate the world of education and parenting, don't forget to check out thinkandactlocally.com. We're here to support you in making those informed decisions for your family and for our community.
Thanks for that reminder. And a big thanks to all of you for joining us on this deep dive into Tuttle Twins Academy. We hope you found it informative and thought-provoking. And until next time, keep thinking, keep learning, and keep acting locally.